విశాఖలో ఫ్లీట్ రివ్యూకు హాజరయ్యారు రాష్ట్రపతి ప్రణబ్, ప్రధాని మోడీ. ఇప్పుడు లైవ్ చూద్దాం.
The national anthem has just finished, and now, after receiving the Guard of Honor, he will embark the INS Sumitra.
The President will now inspect the Guard of Honor. We observe the guard, one presenting arms and leading the President for inspection of the Guard, Lieutenant Commander Arjun Subramaniam from Indian Naval Ship Satpura. A bit about the President's colors. The President's colors been paraded today. A bit about the President's colors. The President's colors being paraded today were presented to the Indian Navy by India's first President, Dr. Rajendra Prasad, on the 27th of May 1951. It's a real honor to parade the same colors today.
The President, the Honorable President of India, now inspecting the Guard of Honor, as we can see, and these young men would be delighted, they would be honored to present the Guard of Honor to the Honorable President of our country. Not often does one get the chance to do something as huge as this. सौ लोगों का ये गार्ड ऑफ ऑनर, आई एम श्योर ये लोग बहुत ही ज़्यादा खुश होंगे और बहुत ज़्यादा खुशकिस्मत समझते होंगे खुद को कि उन्हें ये बहुत ही ज़्यादा प्रेस्टिजियस और ऑनरेबल जॉब मिला है. The Supreme Commander of the Armed Forces walking down, inspecting these wonderfully dressed naval officers.
जैसे ही परम आदरणीय राष्ट्रपति जी INS सुमत्रा पे आमंत्रित होंगे, ये सर्वश्रेष्ठ जहाज अपना सफर के लिए निकलेगा, जहां
as we can see,
जो अतिथिगण इससे पहले ही वहां पहुंच चुके हैं, वो सभी राष्ट्रपति जी का स्वागत करते हुए आप देख सकते हैं.
The Honorable President of India has alighted the INS Sumitra, the momentous occasion everybody was waiting for. He's received the grand welcome, he's received the Guard of Honor, and now he is being welcomed by everybody aboard the INS Sumitra before him.
As you can see that the President of India was received by the Fleet Commander commanding Eastern Fleet, Rear Admiral Sunil Bokre, and the Captain of INS Sumitra, Commander Milind Mukashi. He's been led to the podium and the ship will shortly set sail.
Shri Narendra Modi and Shri Dr. Pranab Mukherjee greeting each other. Lovely broad smiles on their faces. I'm sure both of them must be very proud of the lovely occasion they are here to attend. I'm sure Indian government की बहुत सी कोशिशें और बहुत सी मेहनत गई होगी इस इवेंट को खड़ा करने में. पूरे विश्व से जो सेनाएं, जल सेनाएं आई हैं यहाँ पर इस डिस्प्ले के लिए, तो ये अंतर्राष्ट्रीय बेड़ा समीक्षा, आई एम श्योर इनके एफर्ट्स बहुत ज़्यादा गए होंगे इनमें. एंड एज वी कैन सी नेवल ऑफिसर्स पूरी तरह से मेहनत में जुट गए हैं. जैसे ही माननीय राष्ट्रपति जी पधारे हैं कि जल्द से जल्द INS सुमित्रा सेट सेल करे, हार्बर छोड़े और आज की ये अंतर्राष्ट्रीय बेड़ा समीक्षा शुरू हो। हम आपको बता दें कि जैसे ही INS सुमित्रा करीब 50 मीटर की दूरी तय करेगी, उन्हें फिर से 21 तोपों की सलामी दी जाएगी।
As soon as Sumitra casts off from alongside the berth, the guard will offer the Rashtriya salute to the Honorable President of India and the national anthem will be played once again. So may I request wherever you are to kindly rise and respect and honor the national anthem of the country.
जैसे हम देख सकते हैं, the INS Sumitra has set sail, ladies and gentlemen, and this grand event has officially just begun. The Honorable Prime Minister and President discussing the events happenings with the naval officers sitting beside them.
Ladies and gentlemen, the national anthem. The President is embarked on board INS Sumitra, the presidential yacht. A brief about INS Sumitra. INS Sumitra is an indigenously designed naval offshore patrol vessel built by the Goa Shipyard Limited. She was commissioned in the year 2014 and has already won accolades from near and far. Whilst on anti-submarine patrol in the Gulf of Aden in March 2015, she was diverted for Operation Rahat, a non-combatant evacuation operation in the war-torn country of Yemen. Mind you, Sumitra did not distinguish between Indians and non-Indians. During 5 rescue missions, the ship and its lion-hearted crew risked entering ports which were being bombarded day and night and evacuated 1,621 Indian and foreign nationals. The message from Indian Navy was loud and clear. We are here for the global common good, not just for India. Sumitra was aptly conferred by the Chief of the Naval Staff Unit citation for her conspicuous act of courage in an hostile environment. The ship's commanding officer, Commander Milind Mokashi, was awarded the Shaurya Chakra, India's 3rd highest gallantry award during peacetime, for his bravery during the Operation Rahat. Little wonder then that INS Sumitra is the proud presidential yacht for the International Fleet Review 2016 at Visakhapatnam.
Some very brave deeds by the naval officers of INS Sumitra out there, and as INS Sumitra sails to reach the turning point, let us tell you a little more about this momentous occasion of the International Fleet Review. Some of you may wonder what a fleet review is and what exactly happens in a review. जैसे लोहित जी कह रहे थे कि हम आपको बताएंगे कि इसमें exactly होता क्या है. At the outset, it bears to recall that a review of the armed forces by the Supreme Commander has been in vogue in India even before the time of Mahabharata, when the kings regularly inspected their forces. This gave them an opportunity to assess their military prowess while giving the soldiers a chance to display their allegiance to the king and the state. तो न सिर्फ राजा महाराजा अपने राष्ट्र की स्ट्रेंथ की एक इंस्पेक्शन कर सकते थे, पर ये सैनिकों के लिए भी एक बहुत ही इम्पोर्टेंट मौका होता था अपनी देशभक्ति साबित करने का.
Amongst the armed forces, it was the fleet that provided extended reach and the means to develop wealth and influence in the far-flung areas across the seas. Hence, the fleet review grew as a distinct practice with its own place and significance in the national polity. Ancient India had several kings who maintained large naval and merchant fleets. The purpose of the naval fleet was to protect the kingdom and that trade. As the merchant ships plied to far-off lands, in addition to their own cargo, these ships also took with them the culture of India. Notably amongst these were the Mauryas and the Cholas, who expanded their influence across the Southeast Asia through their fleets.
जैसे हम देख सकते हैं INS सुमित्रा हिंदुस्तान शिपयार्ड को क्रॉस करते हुए, the oldest shipyard on the east coast of India, built by the industrialist Balchand Hiranand as Scindia Steam and Navigation Company. It commenced operations way back in 1941. The shipyard was partially taken over by Government of India in 1952, and 2 years later in 1961, the shipyard was nationalized and renamed as the Hindustan Shipyard Limited. Since inception, the yard has delivered over about 175 vessels of various types and repaired over 1,920 vessels. For over 6 decades now, Hindustan Shipyard Limited has been serving the needs of maritime, defense and oil sectors.
और एक खास बात ये बता दूं संदीप, हिंदुस्तान शिपयार्ड लिमिटेड के बारे में, आज बल्कि अपने नौसेना के जितने भी यहाँ बनते हैं, अपने लिए भी बनते हैं, साथ में साथ आज हम दूसरे देशों के लिए भी यहाँ बना के बेचते हैं.
बिल्कुल बिल्कुल. और the Indian Navy and the Indian Coast Guard have been amongst its oldest partners in developing and constructing ships. The yard has 3 slipways, a covered building block, a wet basin and a dry dock, along with the necessary facilities required for shipbuilding, ship repairs and submarine repairs. The yard was ravaged by Cyclone Hudhud in October 2014, much like the rest of Visakhapatnam. Barely a few months later, it bounced back and resumed full operations to deliver on its promise to make in India. हिंदुस्तान शिपयार्ड की ये बहुत ही खूबसूरत इमारत INS सुमित्रा क्रॉस करते हुए एंड आगे बढ़ रही है अपने इस मोमेंटस फ्लीट रिव्यू को शुरू करने के लिए.
Yes, Sandeep, absolutely. I feel that the shipyards of the country play a major role in extending the country's reach, and I would put across Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru's words: to be secure on land, you have to be supreme at sea. And that is why the Indians have been putting a lot of emphasis on the shipbuilding industry.
Varuna, the motto of the Indian Navy. May Lord Varuna bless the Navy.
Unlike their global counterparts, the Indian armed forces draw their personnel from diverse religions, cultural and ethnic backgrounds. On board, ships, sailors live in mutual harmony. They learn to respect the religions of their shipmates. The ambience on board was commented upon by Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru during a visit when he said that India's Navy is a microcosm of what I believe India should be, a community living together in amity and friendship, irrespective of caste, creed or religion. क्या बात कही थी पंडित जवाहरलाल नेहरू ने तब के ये जो यूनिटी इंडियन नेवी में देखने को मिलती है, ये वाकई में लाजवाब है. क्या कहते हैं लोग?
सही बात है, क्योंकि ये अपना मतलब आप जियोग्राफिकली अगर देखा जाए तो अलग अलग होते हैं, लेकिन अगर समुद्र की ओर से अगर देखा जाए तो सब एक इक्वली दिखता है. जो इसीलिए वी आर यूनाइटेड, आज की जो टाइटल भी है यूनाइटेड थ्रू सी, जो 7,516 जो किलोमीटर का जो कोस्टलाइन है हमारा, जो हर साल मिलियन टन्स की ऑयल वेस्ट एशिया ये रीजन से ही अपने ही रीजन से ही रवाना होता है और अपने नौसेना को निरंतर होशियार रहना पड़ता है, सावधान रहना पड़ता है। और आप देख सकते हैं जिस समीक्षा के अंदर जो जो बड़े बड़े जंगी जहाज आज इस प्रदर्शन में आप देखेंगे।
Okay, as promised, we will just run you down with the history of the fleet reviews in India. Post-independence, the newly formed Indian Navy undertook several major changes, both in structure and by the way of operations. It also reinstituted the maritime tradition of review of the composite fleet by the Supreme Commander. The maiden review of the Indian composite fleet was undertaken by our first president, Dr. Rajendra Prasad, on the 10th of October 1953. A total of 25 warships and 6 aircraft were paraded for the review in a display of might by the nascent Indian Navy. Since then, it has been customary for the President of India to review the Indian Fleet Review once during a tenure. A fleet review is a long-standing tradition followed by the navies all across the world. It is a grand occasion where every operational ship is spruced up, proudly displaying its crest and its company in a spirit of loyalty about its sovereignty and its statehood. The Honorable President of India, as the Supreme Commander of the Armed Forces, reviews the Indian fleet once during his or her tenure in office. And when we say the Indian Fleet Review, we must bring out that this is a reflection of the complete maritime might of the nation apart from the Indian Navy.
बिल्कुल जैसे हम देख सकते हैं आईएनएस सुमित्रा आउटर टर्निंग बेसिन की ओर बढ़ते हुए और यहाँ पर हर जगह होर्डिंग्स लगी हैं हमारे माननीय प्रधानमंत्री और माननीय राष्ट्रपति का स्वागत करते हुए। बहुत ही खूबसूरत नज़ारे हम यहाँ देख सकते हैं, यहाँ के डॉक्स के और यहाँ के बहुत ही ब्यूटीफुल बीचेस के। थोड़ा सा और आपको बता दें, द इंडियन पेनिनसुला juts out of the Asian landmass with the Indian Ocean swirling around it. However, by the 13th century there was a gradual neglect of the fleet, even as the foreign powers gave greater attention to their naval and merchant fleets and cast their eyes on India's prosperity. This led to extensive use of the Indian Ocean by traders and invaders from foreign lands, which resulted in the colonization of India. Until August 1947, in this context, the words of Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru resonate in time, like Commander Kalra just said, to be secure on land, you have to be supreme at sea. Post-independence, the newly formed Indian Navy undertook several major changes, both in structure and by way of operations. It also reinstituted the maritime tradition of review of the composite fleet by the Supreme Commander.
As INS Sumitra leaves Visakhapatnam harbour, I would like to mention a brief about the port of Visakhapatnam. Visakhapatnam port is undergoing a modernization and expansion program aimed at increasing its capacity to 130 million tons by the end of the